It is not by chance that you arrived here today. You have been looking for something larger than yourself. Inside of you, there is a yearning, a calling, a hope for something more, a desire for a place of belonging and caring. Through your struggles, someone nurtured you into being, instilling a belief in a shared purpose, a common yet precious resource. That belongs to all of us when we share. And so you began seeking a beloved community, a people that does not put fences around love, a community that holds its arms open to the possibilities of love, a heart home to nourish your soul and share your gifts. Welcome home. Welcome to Holston Valley Unitarian Universalist Church. I am the Reverend Tiffany Sapp, the minister of this church, and I am so glad that you could be with us here today. If you're with us on the internet, or if you are in the chairs around me, we are one community, united in our commitment to each other and our commitment to how we live out our principles in the world. How we choose to live those principles varies individually, but as a community, we have developed a shared vision. The vision has been great fuel for our imaginations as we dream of who we are growing into as a religious community. If you've been listening to our services or attending our listening circles in the last few months, you may be getting used to hearing the words of our vision. We work together as a church to transform ourselves, our community, and our world by sharing love, pursuing justice, and seeking wonder. Yeah, I think a couple of you have heard it a few times in the last few months. I have been hearing what so many of you think that vision means for us, and today I am excited to share what I have heard and what it will take to make that vision a reality. I'll start right now with some very practical implications of what it means to the folks that are sitting in the sanctuary with us right now. This is our first Sunday with the option of attending in person, and many of you are here only because you have seen the safety precautions that we are going to be exercising, and you decided that it was safe enough to give it a try. So I would ask each of you here to take these precautions seriously as an act of care for the people around you who may have different vulnerabilities than you. This means keeping your mask over your nose. It means no food and drink. It means staying in your seated group until it's time to leave so that we can maintain distancing. It means respecting that some people really do want to love you from afar right now. And it means that we're not singing together yet. These are changes from how things have been 2 years ago, but it's what it's going to take to be together right now. This means that many parts of the service are going to be handled differently than before, so assume nothing, pay attention, give us a lot of grace, and we'll talk you through it all. Thank you so much for sharing this care for each other by following our guidelines. This is love in action in a very practical way. I'll let you know that both Tom and Phyllis and I have all had negative COVID tests yesterday, and that's why we will be up here with quite a bit of distance from the rest of you all, unmasked. To reduce the number of people moving around during the service, Tom and I will light our chalice with the chalice lighting inspired by the chalice itself.
When we light our chalice, everyone focuses on the flame. Yet it is the paraffin and kerosene in the base, the cotton of the wick, the potassium chlorate and sulfur of the match, and the oxygen in the air around us that makes the flame possible. As leaders, we are not called to be a lone beacon on a hill. Rather, we are meant to work together so that we might together shine. Good morning. I'm Tom Burns, your service leader here at Holston Valley Unitarian Universalist Church. We welcome you, old friends and new, young and old. You are an essential part of our celebration today. Whether today is your first or your 1000th Sunday with us, we're stronger because of your presence. We are one people of many beliefs, many origins, sexualities, and genders. We are all growing, all learning, all loved. Just as you are welcome here. We're in the middle of our pledge drive right now, and we are asking our members and friends to consider how they can financially support our community in the coming fiscal year. One of the best parts of the pledge drive is that we get to hear from pledging congregation members about why they give. Today we hear from Phyllis about why our church is important to her.
Good morning. I'm Phyllis Cairns. I've been a member of HVUUC since the early 2000s. Charlie Miller asked me to spend a couple of minutes talking about why I pledge. I thought, oof, after 2 years, stand up there and talk to all those people? Then I saw an article on NPR. Kindergartners have started a pep talk hotline, and I could read some of their advice. When you're scared or nervous, you can do anything. Just remember to. Good advice for me. If you're feeling up high and unbalanced, think of groundhogs. Perfect. So, okay, I asked myself, what do I pledge to and why? Well, I pledge a little bit to public radio, NPR. Once I heard my nephew tell someone with disdain, I don't think her car picks up any other station. It is a little annoying when NPR fundraisers happen because they interrupt their programming. But I can't imagine not hearing the reassuring voices of Terry Gross, Scott Simon, Steve Inskeep, Audie Cornish, Sylvia Poggioli, and others. I also pledged to HVUUC. We do, my husband Rolla and I. It's my community of people. Where would I be without it? Well, maybe in another church, because I've been part of other churches. But I had to do a lot of pretending, not voicing doubts, not questioning, pretending to believe in just one way. Here I'm with you, people of varying beliefs and philosophies. I learn a lot from you. You are not only smart, but compassionate, open-minded, affirming, authentic, talented, organized, energetic, kind, quirky, funny, articulate, diverse, creative, and generous. I like being around you. I mean that sincerely. I like supporting a liberal faith tradition. In this particular time of terrible news, I think our world could use a big dose of UU values. I'm glad HVUUC is here, where I live, with the reassuring voices of all of you. Then I looked again to the kindergartners for advice about generosity. Give people stuff. They'll like it.
This is the ancient Persian story of the Simurgh, originally told in the 12th century by Farid ud-Din Attar and retold by Jorge Luis Borges in the Book of Imaginary Things. The Simurgh is a benevolent, mythical, flying creature, an immortal bird that nests in the branches of the Tree of Knowledge, far away in a distant land. One day, the other birds learn that the Simurgh has dropped one of his splendid feathers. These birds have been living in anarchy and they are tired of it, tired of chaos, struggle, and confusion. They know there must be a better way, and they need the wisdom and guidance of a great leader. So, they decide to venture off to find the Simurgh. They know that this journey will be long and difficult, since the great benevolent bird's castle lies way out in a distant mountain range that forms a ring around the earth. But it's got to be worth the journey to find deliverance from the chaos that surrounds them. A better world must be possible. So this group of birds heads off to see the Simurgh, and right away many of the birds lose heart. The nightingale bails. He can't bear to be apart from his beloved rose. The parrot wants to go right back into the cage in which he's lived his whole life. The partridge cannot do without the comfort of her home in the hills. The heron can't stand being away from the marsh, nor the owl away from his ruins. But finally, certain of them set out on the perilous venture. They cross 7 valleys, 7 seas, each one with an alarming name. The next to last sea was named Bewilderment, and the last one, Annihilation. Many of the original pilgrims desert. The journey takes a deep toll on the rest of the travelers. They are exhausted, depleted, and at the end of this arduous journey, only 30 birds are left. These birds were frightened and tired, but they kept moving together, and they finally reached the great peak that the great Simurgh bird is said to live upon. And the birds land. They prepare to behold their king, to receive their answers, to rest into the end of chaos. But there on that mountain peak, there is no great mythical bird. It's just them on that peak, just 30 birds. And this is because they are the Simurgh. Because it turns out that the word Simurgh means 30 birds. And the Simurgh is each of them and all of them together.
Many thanks to the people of Foothills Unitarian Church for sharing their story with us. I've got a question for all of you, little kids and big kids. Who is the leader of the birds in this story? You're going to have to speak up, or you're going to have to raise your hand or something like that. Who's the leader? All of them. I love, we jumped right past the Simurgh to say all of them. How did the birds become the leaders? Someone had a thought that I couldn't hear. I'm thinking that it is the journey that they made together that made all of them the leaders. And we've been on a journey together here too, and we're not there yet. In fact, unlike in the fable, sometimes the journey isn't as linear as we would like it to be. 2 years ago, this building closed as news of increasing cases of COVID-19 swept the world. No one knew what to expect. Things were scary and uncertain. We have navigated changes 100 times since then. There's been some amazing hopeful moments, like when vaccines first rolled out. And there's been some disheartening moments too, like when new variants caused surges, or when vaccines for our youngest kids have been delayed yet again. One moment of beauty and hope came to this congregation about a year ago, halfway between when the pandemic began and now, with the recording of a gorgeous virtual choir piece called "On the Day We Are Together Again." Today, as some of us are physically together and others of us are not, we think about this song and we want to hold space for our entire community. We celebrate the ways that we've stayed connected on this 2-year anniversary of our closing, and we dream of the ways that we will continue to put our energy into staying connected for all of us. We celebrate the ways that we've cared for each other and are going to keep on caring for each other in diverse circumstances. So today we celebrate a milestone on this journey as we continue to acknowledge that we haven't reached our final goal. This song from an earlier time in our journey projects hopes into the future, and we have seen some of them come to pass, and others aren't there yet. And we continue to journey together like a flock of hopeful birds. I am so glad that we are in this together as we continue to hope for our future.
On the day we are together again. On the day we are together again, I will pull you in close like a hoop with no end. On the day we are together again,
we will share the same table again. We will share the same table again. I will pass you the salt, the candlelight will bend when we sit at the same table again.
We will walk round the block hand in hand. We will walk round the block hand in hand. We will stop for a snack at the taco truck stand. We will walk
are together again. On the day we are together again, I will pull you in close like a hoop with no end. On the day we are together again. On the day we are together again.
Hope is a message that survives somehow. And here we are, and we're waiting for conditions that allow us to fill this room up. And I know we're looking forward to that too. Let us center our hearts and our minds on hope, breathing in hope, breathing out hope. We are a people of hope and love. We are a people who shed tears for the people that we care about, for the people that we've lost, and for the hope that things will get better. We have the hope to share love even when our hearts have been hurt before. We step beyond the hurts and try to love again. We have the audacity to pursue justice, even when injustices near and far feature so prominently on the news and in our minds. It only firms our resolve and makes us realize the world needs us more now more than ever. We have the vision to seek wonder, and even when our spirits are tired, we can't help but seek the wonder that will renew us. And we hope that things will get better for all of us, and put hope into action with our energies, our resources, and our talents. Today, we center our hearts and minds on hope in this quiet moment. Come to this community with all that you are. Your joys and concerns are welcome here. In future weeks, as we gather with this new format, I want to encourage you to share moments of joys and sorrows with us through using these candles cards that you can get from our ushers. You do that if you're in person. If you're not going to be with us in person, email me at minister@hvuuc.org with the words candle card in the subject line. Please make sure to indicate whether or not you would like the card read aloud in the service, which is still being broadcast publicly on YouTube. If I were to write a candles card right now, I would write in big blue and yellow letters the words concern for the people of Ukraine. We have personal connections in this congregation to these brave and defiant people, and our hearts are wrenched as we don't know the course of their futures. We hold space for them here. Our hearts are with Ukraine and with all people who face the horrors of war. A card about that. A concern for work team members in Ukraine, Anatoly, Anastasia, Dennis, and Michael, and especially the 3 who have been trapped in heavily hit Izium, cut off from contact since last Sunday, Marina, Sergei, and Victor. We say their names, and our hearts are with them. While we are at the high risk level that we are at right now, we will not be inviting people to come forward to light their own candles. Instead, Cynthia from the caring team will come light candles for you so that you can stay in your seats. If you want a candle to be lit for yourself, a loved one, a situation close to your heart, I invite you to make that request known to us by standing or raising your hand when loving kindness plays, which will happen in just a minute. Then I will acknowledge each of you with a motion of my hand, and you can sit down or lower your hand after I acknowledge you. So when the music starts playing, that's when you will raise your hand or stand. And our community will always be larger than what these 4 walls can contain. And during this time, we feel that especially clearly as I think of the many of you who are with us today at a distance from the help of technology. And so we light our first candle for you, who are not in the building, but are ever in our hearts and minds.
Among other reasons why today is such an important day, it's the beginning of March Madness. And Unitarian Universalist minister Reverend Michael Tino has some thoughts about how basketball is like being in a spiritual community in today's reading. He writes, "One of the potential spiritual lessons of sports comes in its ability to connect people to each other as well as to a team of strangers. Not too long ago, I was in a workshop in which we were discussing peak experiences, those mystical, transcendent experiences of what Abraham Maslow would call self-actualization. During peak experiences, it's said one finds connectedness with the universe around us. Sometimes one is overwhelmed with that sense of being part and parcel of a vast and wondrous creation. Many of my colleagues described experiences like sitting on a mountain ridge at sunset or finding deep inner peace on a meditation retreat. I thought of women's basketball. The date was March 22nd, 1999. The place, the Greensboro Coliseum in North Carolina. Duke faced Tennessee, which had won 3 national championships in a row and were, by all accounts, headed for their 4th. I sat in the Duke section, a tiny sliver of blue in a sea of Tennessee orange, and yet somehow our little group managed to pull together and make more noise than the Lady Vols fans, a disparity that grew as the Blue Devils took and held the lead. Needless to say, Duke won that game, and we were left elated, but what stays in my memory is the experience of connection, while the other fans as well as with the Duke players. We could tell that our cheering helped the players on the team reach for that extra something they needed to beat the best team in the country. And again they rose to the challenge, making us cheer even louder. It was a cycle of connection that brought me, at least, to a different level of being.
A bold move of us to tell a story where Tennessee sports lost. What is your sacred text? It's a question that Unitarian Universalist chaplains and Unitarian Universalist ministers that do a lot of interfaith work get all the time. When we're working with a diverse group of clergy, especially people of the book, like Christians, Muslims, and Jews, it seems like a logical question to them. They assume that our religious identity is driven by one book, just like them. And so it's a question that we get used to answering. But how we answer it has been an interesting point of discussion with my colleagues. There are a lot of answers. Some may cite actual books. Tolkien, Neil Gaiman, Robin Wall Kimmerer, Octavia Butler, Brené Brown, Mary Oliver, Thoreau, Khalil Gibran, Carl Sagan, and many others have produced works that inspire and inform us. And there are more expansive non-book answers too, like personal experience, nature, the scientific method. I even once sat a curious chaplain intern down and explained all 6 sources of Unitarian Universalism to him because he seemed genuinely interested. Those 6 sources cover everything I've listed so far, plus all the sacred texts of all the other world religions. For Reverend Michael Tino, a woman's basketball game was his sacred text for the day. It's one of my favorite things about being UU. The best answer, though, that I have heard from this question came from one of my UU minister colleagues. She said that her most treasured sacred text is the lived experiences of the people of her church. It takes my answer of personal experience and expands it, saying it is not my personal experience, but our personal experiences that shapes our religious identity in the most meaningful ways. And for the last month and a half, I have been reading the sacred text of our personal experiences with intense curiosity. I've heard from 40 different people in 8 different listening circles. I've engaged in one-on-one conversations, listened attentively at board and committee meetings, used social gatherings and a really great work day, all to do as much listening as I can. I have heard your hopes, your fears, your dreams, seeking to learn about who we are and who we want to be, using our vision statement as our guide. I heard over and over that sharing love has been experienced in many ways as we have experimented with how to connect with each other, and that is an important part of who we are. So many of us here have experienced the isolating tendencies of modern life, and so we're here to connect. I have heard stories about how the caring team was really there for people when they needed it, reaching out to folks when someone let them know there was a need. I also heard about deep connections made in covenant groups and the value of unstructured social times like hikes and off-campus social events at our favorite farm and playground play dates. I heard from so many of you about how you are longing to get to the back porch for social hour. I also heard repeatedly that we feel a strong, urgent call to pursue justice. And a few minutes watching the news shows us how much the world needs communities of people committed to a more just world. Folks shared that they are really thrilled by the work of the Social Justice Committee since its reawakening this fall. And I've heard that social justice is not just the work of the committee, but the work of all of us. I hope to see this understanding translate into action more and more, both within my own actions and in our collective actions. I heard awe in people's voices over and over as they described how grateful they have been for online services, recognition for the tremendous amount of work that has gone into them, and a special appreciation for the music that carried us through these hard times. And oh man, did I feel that this morning. And then there was this reoccurring theme that really surprised me. There was one phrase in the vision statement that I didn't realize the significance of at all. And it's the first 3 words. We work together. Y'all, I had no idea that these weren't just words that were setting up the rest of the statement, but it turns out it's a key phrase about who we are. We work together. My first clue was during a listening circle when someone said that they missed washing dishes here. Since I have never been nostalgic about dishes a day in my life, except for maybe when someone else washes my dishes, I got really curious about this. And the more I listened, I realized that what she really missed was the camaraderie of working together with others in the kitchen. And I learned what she meant firsthand at the work day when I worked side by side with 25 of you. I was delighted when I realized that I was conversing about authenticity while raking leaves, hearing about someone's spiritual journey while pulling weeds, and exploring self-care topics while sitting in the shade, drinking tea during a much-needed break. There was laughter, relationships forged and relationships renewed, and the grounds were absolutely beautiful when we were done. You just gotta imagine it because it's covered by a layer of snow now. We work together is my new favorite phrase, and it really applies to all the rest of the vision. It is in working together that we find transformation, that we love each other, that we pursue justice, and what we accomplish together might be the most wondrous thing I've encountered in a long time. To summarize, our vision is to be a loving, connected community that goes out into the world to do the work of justice. We want to be more connected to each other and more active and visible in the wider community. We want to be the light of hope and peace in the Tri-Cities, and we're going to do that by working together. What will it take to get our lives aligned with that vision? I can think of a few things, though we will definitely be drawing the map as we walk the path. First, let's continue to foster an attitude of gratitude in this community. I heard so much gratitude from you all during the listening circles for the amazing things that a multitude of volunteers did to keep us going these last 2 years. So let's express our appreciation for our board leaders, for our tech gurus, our musicians, youth teachers, reopening task force service leaders, facilities heroes, social justice organizers, and caring team members. Let's tell them how much we appreciate them and how we couldn't have survived without them. I think they deserve some applause. I encourage all of you to go out of your way to say thank you to our people who have been working hard in these capacities whenever you have a chance to see them. This is a great first step. Our next step might be to consider where we can rotate our players. An effective basketball team doesn't play their 5 best players the entire game. They would be too tired to do their best by the end. And no one else would get the practice that they need to improve their skills if they're never on the court. If you've been feeling disconnected and uninvolved lately, this is your chance to thoughtfully consider where you can enter the game. And it doesn't have to be a big, grandiose effort. It can be tending a flower bed, doing a reading up here, serving on a committee that interests you. Play with some kids, push a button on our computer to play videos during the service, or help put a new playground together. Imagine what would be really enjoyable to you, and then go talk to someone who you have seen doing this kind of work that interests you and connect with them. See what you can learn from them and how you can help. And if you have already been involved, and there are a lot of you, and it's starting to feel like you're in the 4th quarter of the game and you haven't been on the bench once, then maybe it's time to start coaching, mentoring your replacement. Start thinking about the qualities that you've developed to make you such a good player, and start looking for someone you think can grow those qualities. Build a relationship with them. Talk about why you love this work and why you think they would be good at it, and offer to support them in it. Several highly successful Unitarian Universalist organizations that I have listened to have pointed to a culture of mentorship as being the key to their success. Their rule is always, always be looking for your replacement and mentoring them. Preferably before you're too tired to play. All of this is how we work together. And that work together attitude works just as well as we move out of these walls to pursue justice. If we really want to do social justice work that has come up over and over and over again in the listening circles, then it's time to build relationships with the people in our community who want to do this justice work, and be willing to listen to them and to let them lead the way, set the agenda, recognizing that they know what they need best. When we go to the Langston Center or Pride or United Religions Initiative gatherings, we need to stop sitting with each other and we need to go meet some new people, ready to do less talking, which is hard for me, and more listening. It's about getting out of our comfort zone and moving from being armchair allies to being connected co-conspirators. And while we're out there, we may just find that being authentic about who we are will attract other folks who want to do this work with us. And finally, it's going to take financial resources. I really don't love asking for money. I'm very sensitive to the fact that many of you have come to this community with religious trauma, and being shamed and manipulated over money has often been part of that trauma. And that does not change the fact that so much of what we want to do as a community is going to need money. As I'm looking into the video camera that we had to buy to make today possible, I know it to be true that we need your financial support. That's why, even if it didn't seem like it, this is a pledge drive sermon. Our leaders here, we've heard what you want, and now we have to figure out how to pay for it. There's a proposed budget in the members section of the website. This budget is our wish list for how we can make your vision come true. After we collect your pledge commitments, we will figure out if we can fully fund this vision or not. This financial piece, too, is what it will take to make our vision a reality. And I think Phyllis did a really great job at making that point already. I started this reflection by talking about how our collective lived experiences are our sacred texts. And I think that the best thing about this kind of sacred text is that it keeps on writing itself as we keep on learning and growing together. Your words, your efforts and energies, and your contributions will show us what we can write next. Let's keep working on this life-giving book together and keep cheering our team on, which kind of makes me want to say, yay, church.
We extinguish this flame, but we keep its light in our hearts with its message of love and justice, taking it outside these walls to the world we live in until we are together again. We thank you for being with us today. We hope that you're giving some thought to how you want to be part of this community that works together. One way that you can support the work of your community is with a financial contribution. You can drop your check or cash into the donation bowls on the way out, or you can mail your contribution to the address that shows during our closing announcements. Thank you for your support. I hope you enjoyed today. Next week, we're doing something completely different. Next week's Signs of Spring will be an intergenerational outdoor service. You will be invited to a guided walk around our property using our walking trail and get a chance to make some seed bombs on our back porch. Because this day is designed for the entire family to enjoy together, there will not be childcare. There will be a video option posted online by Sunday night for people who cannot walk the trail and cannot be in person. And there will be an option to come watch the trail video here seated in person on Sunday morning if you're not able to walk the trail. This is a rain or shine event, and we recommend that you dress casually and bring your sneakers. The following Sunday, March 27th, we will be back inside and online with a service from VA Chaplain Michael Woods. During his talk, he will be exploring difficult matters of trauma and moral injury. It may be difficult for some people to hear, so we want to share that warning with you before we meet that Sunday. Chaplain Woods will offer a talk-back session immediately after the service on the back deck for anyone interested or who have follow-up questions about his topic. You can learn more about the many opportunities for fellowship justice work and working together by visiting our website, hvuuc.org, and checking out our news and events section.
And here's one more chance to work together. The old playground has been removed. There's a big empty space back there because it had become unsafe in the last 2 years. The new playground is hanging out under the deck in pieces. Greg Kramer is looking for people to help build the new playground with work days on Saturday, April 2nd, and April 9th. There is Greg. You can't miss him in that awesome shirt. So, yes. So look for Greg, which y'all, okay. You all have no idea how hard Greg, Joseph, and Alex have worked on our facilities the last 2 years. This building would have fallen apart if we had just pretended it didn't exist for 2 years. They've been amazing. I know we've done the applause thing before, but we need to do it again for them. You want to help with the playground? I know you do. Reach out to Greg, or if you are listening to us online and you want to reach out to Greg, email facilities@hvuuc.org. I'm about to do the benediction and the postlude, and then we'll be done for the day. I had really hoped the weather would be nicer so that it would be easy to socialize outside, but it appears that weather is still beyond my control. So, we have decided to open up our fellowship hall for socializing for those of you willing to take the risk, but recognize that 6 feet of distance is not going to happen back there. There is also nothing to keep you from hanging out outside, which would definitely be safer, but colder. So, thank you. Thank you, thank you. What a gift it has been to be playing on this team that dreams of a community built on love, justice, and teamwork. As things are always changing and the world is always turning, we hope to do our part to turn it towards justice and love by working together. During my ministerial search process, when I was hoping to be called to this church, I had a playlist that I would listen to constantly to lift my spirits and help me imagine the community that we could be together. Today, Karis and Brandy share one of my favorite songs from that playlist with us. These words from my muse have inspired my vision, and I hope they will inspire yours. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning, we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning, we shall learn to lead in love.
We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love.
All together.
It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love.